Alright guys, we're going to continue on with some more of the basic strategies. The next thing we're going to cover is multiple attackers. I don't know whether this is number 5 or whatever, but I'll look it up and we'll figure it out. Like we've done in the past, sometimes the easiest thing to do is to take that 3,000 foot view and look down on this from maybe a small unit perspective to kind of boil down how these things take place, and then once we know how they take place, we can come up with ways to defeat them. So we're just going to look at just a simple L ambush. This might be a scenario where I have a machine gunner down on the end and I got a couple riflemen out here. An enemy force comes through and maybe navigates down a roadway, however you want to look at it. But basically how this is going to go is the teams will pre-stage and have pre-selected reference points. Now they could use a tree, a rock, whatever. And essentially what I'm doing is we're going to establish fields of fire. So this guy is going to fire down this way and he's going to fire up to the limit of the tree. This guy will fire up to the limit of the tree, and out here he'll select his out here. And the idea being is that we're using these trees as reference points. It could be a rock, it could be whatever, it could be even something off in the distance, just so long as this guy knows that once he swings his muzzle beyond a certain point, he's now going to start getting into his friendlies. So essentially what they're doing is we want overlapping fields of fire to establish a kill box. Now, the overlapping fields of fire allow us to more efficiently be able to rain down fire on our enemy force quickly. The most casualty producing weapon will kick off the action, in which case everybody else will immediately chime in. So the idea being is that this guy is not going to kick the action off until our enemy force has come down here and he's somewhere in the middle of the kill box, and then they all kick it off. He'll be the first one to start, and then these guys will chime in, and we want to cut them down as efficiently as possible. However, once this all starts happening, this now becomes dynamic. This guy's moving around, he's trying to figure out where to go. What we don't want is we don't want this guy swinging that muzzle back beyond this tree and getting into friendly. By the same token, the same scenario here. I don't want this guy coming back in and shooting a friendly. So another concept that some people might be a little bit more familiar with is if I leave these guys in the same exact positions and do this, now all of a sudden we have CQB. So I have the perimeter walls. Number 1 man comes in, he comes in, digs 2 corners. Number 2 man takes the next corner. 3 and 4 come in and they take their positions, their points of domination in the room. Now the same exact thing happens here, only we're going to determine those reference points, those fields of fire, we're going to determine those on the fly. Now, as my muzzle sticks out, the rule of thumb is 1 meter off the muzzle is the limit of this guy's fire. So he's going to get, his field of fire will go from the corner to 1 meter off the muzzle. This one will go to the corner, 1 meter off the muzzle, to the corner, 1 meter off the muzzle, and then the same thing down here, 1 meter off the muzzle to the corner, and we set up that same kill box in the exact same way. So it's the same exact type of scenario. The idea being is that we want to control points of domination. We want to limit the risk of friendly fire, especially in a dynamic environment where once this all starts taking place, this guy is probably not going to be static. He's going to be moving all around trying to figure out where to go. And in the heat of the moment, I don't want to run my muzzle past and end up tracking this guy and get into one of my own guys. So we know that in this case here, the green, the attackers, the guys who are conducting the ambush, we know that what they're trying to do is establish an efficient means to dispatch whatever threat that they have without getting into one of their own guys. Now, In the analysis video that we did, where we did the bus analysis, we saw an instance where the officer went on, the assailant grabbed a hold of her weapon, the second officer came on, but could not engage the assailant immediately because of the close proximity. And it's that same fear of friendly fire that caused him to have to actually go up and engage in hand-to-hand to separate them first before he was able to actually shoot. So, is there a way that we can capitalize on that? Is there principles from the small unit aspect that we can use to capitalize on that? And the answer is absolutely yes. So, if I have two attackers and I'm here, anywhere in this area on down, I am essentially in their kill box. Okay? I mean, this is common sense. They're looking out here. I'm in that kill box. So first and foremost, not where I want to be. My option is to continue to retreat, to take off in one direction or another, and that gets into a whole issue of, can I reach that minimum safe distance in time? And we covered this a little bit in the distance equals time video, that it's really not realistic. So this is one of the reasons why, even in that L ambush scenario, the rule of thumb is to assault in. Why? Because the assault or the ambushing force is really focused on not getting into friendly fire. So the safest option is for me to pull in close next to one of those guys to assault in, so that I can actually cut down on some of the fire coming at me, because they're going to have to at some point get past that tree and get into their own guys if they're going to continue to stay on me. So, utilizing that same principle here, one of the things that we've talked about is in the one-on-one scenario, by me assaulting in, I cut that angle. I can now, he has two arms and two legs that he can bring to bear in this direction. But once I get out here, he only has one arm, one leg, and then I'm blank in the back. So, we've talked about this in some of the other videos. You can go back to the very first basics of strategy that we talked about. However, when I cut that angle, not only do I minimize the number of assets that one individual can bring against me, but I also minimize the fact that this guy cannot bring anything against me, not without moving. So, once again, going back to the bus analysis video, by me pulling in close, this guy, if he's got a weapon, a knife, a gun, a bat, whatever, he's going to have to be that much more hesitant. He's going to have to be that much more careful before engaging me, or run the risk of actually killing a friendly. So me pulling in and getting in close and cutting that angle is going to be the safest bet for me. Now the option is do I go this way? Do I go this way? Do I assault in here? Okay, once again, basic concept. Never do I want to fight a two-front battle. I don't want to be fighting on my right and on my left. And if I turn and I face one individual, now I've got a fight going on in my rear. So assaulting in between them is never going to be my first option. In fact, I'm going to do everything I can to not be in that position. However, assaulting in this way could be a viable option. My philosophy on this and what I teach is whatever side I am armed on, whether it be a pistol, a knife, if I am carrying 3 o'clock appendix and my primary draw hand is my right hand, what I don't want to do is I don't want to assault in and have my primary draw hand where it can be fouled by this individual. So what I'm going to do is, if my primary draw hand is on the right, I'm going to assault in on the right so that I can get that weapon clear without running the risk of it being fouled. Now this is where using my support hand comes in, and we just did a technique video on single hand and two-handed draw, the purpose of that support hand. I even went into some coaching there on how this is done. So by assaulting in here, I can take advantage of the fact that friendly fire is an issue for these guys. I also take advantage of the fact that I get out of that kill box. So I don't want to be in the kill box. They don't want to have a friendly fire incident. How can I capitalize on that? One, by getting out of the kill box. Two, by putting them in a position where friendly fire becomes an issue for them. So cutting that angle, getting in close, staying in close, not simply following the traditional methodology, which would have you pull and draw from retention and then back away and somehow try and spin around quickly and hip shoot this guy. All right, I'm going to show a video at the end of this, and even though it's a cop perspective versus the assailant, I want you to see how things turned out when the tried to retreat from two armed individuals who happened to be officers. He tried to retreat even though he had the drop on them. So had he have not done that, had he have assaulted in, that situation would have ended up drastically different. So you guys just kind of stay tuned and watch that. I'll put it on the end of this video. Train hard.
Just place your hands back here for me, man. Just place your hands back here for me, please.